What is going on, Carlos Whitaker Podcast Familia? It is Thursday, August the 15th, 2024. And we are heading into part 4 of our series where we are unpacking the 6 pillars of don't stand on issues, walk with people. What does that mean? I'm coming to you. This is like old school Human Hope podcast. Remember, you guys, I used to like run and gun. I'd like record things everywhere. And I'm not in a studio. I'm in my mother and father-in-law's upstairs apartment in Orlando, Florida. I just got done speaking at a John Maxwell High Capacity Leaders event. And I'm getting to speak next to Malcolm Gladwell. I need to say this out loud because Carlos Whitaker of 6 years ago, that was having a hard time booking a speaking gig, that was having a hard time getting anybody in the corporate space to listen to him, that was having a hard time, honestly, doing what I wanted to do, never would have imagined that I would be speaking in between Malcolm Gladwell and John Maxwell. Those names are almost a tongue twister. But look where I'm at. Hey, Mom, look, I've made it. And I'm just proud. I'm proud of myself. And it's okay to be proud of yourself. You know, when something happens that you've worked long and hard for, celebrate it. I almost wanted to gloss over it when people were like on Instagram, they were DMing me, dude, you're literally, your photos right next to John Maxwell, in between John Maxwell and Malcolm Gladwell. And I would just kind of gloss over it. But after a few of you leaned into me saying, hey, Carlos, that's actually really cool. Be proud of yourself. I am. I'm proud of myself. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'm legitimately recording this on my FaceTime camera on my laptop. So, I mean, this is the unfanciest podcast we've had in a hot minute, but we are on, let's see, we are episode, are we 30 or 31? I can't remember. It's one of those two. And I'm really excited about, 31. I'm really excited about this one. You know, I've been trying to lean into, I don't know, some of what's been going on in our current society and culture. And, you know, kind of lean into what's happening in society and culture while we unpack what the pillar is that we're going to be working on. And so today's pillar that we're going to unpack is the pillar of civility is greater than silence. Civility is greater than silence. You know, you can go back the last few weeks and listen to the other episodes where we talked about, see if I can get this off the top of my head, you know, conviction, alongside compassion. That was, I think, one of the ones that I got the most comments on, because I think that's such a big deal right now in the online spaces. People don't know how to do that. We walk alongside, not in front of, nor behind. We seek understanding, not victory. Those are the 3 that we've gone through. And then the 4th one is civility is greater than silence. We chase civility, not silence, right? And again, there's false choices every single week that we can face. We reject the false choice between conviction and kindness. It's a false choice. We can disagree fiercely, but with respect and a commitment to finding common ground. That's the kicker. Where has the commitment to finding common ground gone? This week, I put up a reel where maybe 2 days ago for you, where I just was talking about, because I just had seen, again, more people claiming to be Christ followers online that were just a-holes. They were just, booty holes, if you have little kids in the car, or wherever you're listening, you know, and I just am like, when I looked at when Jesus was being ridiculed, spit on, and ultimately murdered, what did he choose to do? He chose to wash his disciples' feet. He chose to give a new commandment, which is love one another. These are the things that he chose to do. And so, and it also says in that scripture that This is how you will know they are my disciples, if they love one another. And I'm not going to stop spitting it. I'm not going to stop preaching it. This is what we need to be doing. And people don't know how to do that anymore. People don't know how to have, walk in civility without just not saying something. You know, I had 7,000 people unfollow me because I prayed for President Trump. After he was, the assassination attempt, 7,000 people. And let me tell you about that. I felt like that was a civil thing to do. Okay. I know many of us have different political opinions. I've never voted for Donald Trump, but I felt like as a Christian, I was supposed to pray for him, pray for the trauma, when a bullet flies by your face and clips your ear because someone tried to kill you, you're centimeters away from dying, like that inflicts trauma. I don't care who you are. So I prayed against it because I was choosing civility. I was choosing what I felt like I was supposed to do, what we all were supposed to do. And the fact that I knew, I had this inkling, I had this feeling that maybe I should just say, hey, everybody, let's just not be violent with each other. I could have said that. I promise you, I could have said that, and I would still have 300,000 followers. But you know what that would have been doing? Choosing silence. Because I knew what God had placed in my heart. And he had placed a prayer that I was to pray for the former president of the United States. And I went back and forth on whether or not to post that prayer for about an hour and a half. Like, should I post it? People are going to be mad. I didn't know 7,000 people unfollow me mad, but I knew they were going to be mad. But I decided to not choose silence. And it cost me. It cost me. Who knows how much it cost me ultimately, but it cost me. But I'm glad I did it because that's what we're called to do. See, like most of us, we don't want to be mean, right? And you've heard the saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Like we've heard that our whole lives. And ultimately, I think we should be kind, but it's a sentiment that promotes thinking before you speak. And it's aiming to protect others from unnecessarily harsh comments. But here's the shadow side to, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. The shadow side is when you say nothing at all, you literally don't say anything. And sometimes things need to be said. But they do need to be said respectfully and kind. I go back to the prayer that I typed, and I just can't find. I guess a lot of people were unfollowing me because I called him President Trump instead of former President Trump, to which I responded like, if I met President Obama, I would call him President Obama. If I met President Carter, I'd call him President Carter. If I met President Bush, I'd call him President Bush. Like I just called him President. Even Pete Buttigieg called him President Trump that night. And so like maybe that's why people unfollowed me. I don't know. But I think ultimately it's because they couldn't stomach prayers being thrown out to somebody that they despised. And there have been weeks and months, and maybe even years where I despise him, but I'm still called to pray for him. I may not like him as a person. We may not be homies. Maybe we would. Who knows? Trump, you out there? Give me a call. Let's go have lunch. I'll give it a shot, but I'm still called to pray for him. So I know many of you are voting for him. And I will pray for whoever. I'm actually going to pray for both the candidates, Kamala and Trump, as they are leading up to the election. Would you make a commitment to pray for both of them? What does it do to you? What does it do to you to think about praying out loud for goodness to happen to somebody that maybe you despise? It's a tell. It's a tell. I love my Lumen. What in the world is Lumen? Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. That's right. I've got one and I breathe into that bad boy every single morning. It is this really cool device that measures my metabolism through my breath. And it's on an app and it lets me know if I'm burning fat at the moment or if I'm burning carbs. And then here's the kicker. It gives me a tailored guide to improve my nutrition, workout, sleep, and even stress management. It is so amazing. Listen, your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into fuel that keeps you going. So Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health. It can also track your cycles as well as the onset of, which hopefully I'm not gonna have, but many of us will, menopause, and adjust your recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts so you can keep your energy up and stave off those cravings. So if you wanna take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/Carlos to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/Carlos for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. My family legitimately only drinks from our AquaTrue. Our dogs legitimately drink 50% of their water from our AquaTrue. What in the world is AquaTrue? Well, let me tell you guys, I'm always looking for ways to make drinking water that's healthy easier, right? I don't even want to think about it. Listen, I know that drinking water is important to staying hydrated and healthy. In fact, 60% of our bodies are made up of water. And if you're like me, you don't really trust your tap water. So I reached out to AquaTrue, and now AquaTrue is the purifier that my family uses. Listen, AquaTrue purifiers use a 4-stage reverse osmosis purification process. That is what we use, their countertop purifier. It is so easy. And they've got purifiers that fit every type of home, right? From insulation-free countertop purifiers, which is us, to higher capacity under the sink options. They even have Wi-Fi connected purifiers for all of you techies, okay? Just one set of filters from their classic purifier makes the equivalent of 4,500 bottles of water. You guys gotta taste the difference. It is incredible. This is what I want you to do. I want you to head right now to aquatrue.com. AquaTrue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and makes a great gift. Today, my listeners receive 20% off any AquaTrue purifier. Just go to aquatrue.com. That's AQUATRU.com and enter code HUMANHOPE at checkout. That's 20% off any AquaTrue water purifier when you go to aquatrue.com and use promo code HUMANHOPE. So, I've said it again and again. Difficult conversations over things you disagree on should be had in person. Okay? They should be had in person. It's just so much harder to say horrible things to someone's face than it is to say it in the comment section. I just promise you that the things people were saying to me in the comment section of that prayer post, they would not have said to my face. And so because of that, we're probably more apt to choose silence with people in person in order to keep the peace, save face, not rock the boat, and all that. But even so, we also know that it's hard to keep our mouths shut in hair trigger society. It just is. So here's where we're going to be honest. Okay. We know that it is okay to speak up about things that matter to us. We should, but we have to be willing to do it in a way that invites people to other people to speak up as well. So this is what we're going to lean into. How do we respectfully disagree and still engage in conversation? How in the world do we respectfully disagree while still engaging in conversation? How do we do that? Number one, you guys ready? This is the thing that we've heard forever. Think before you speak. Another age-old saying, it's said a lot, but not practiced enough. Bite your tongue for just a moment, right? Bite it, hang on to it and form the actual response you want to give, not just the first thing that comes to mind. The amount of times, this is something that I do all the time. If I see somebody and again, this is not even face to face, this is in a comment section, and I want to rip somebody or in a DM, I type it all out. I type it out. I let them have it in the little blinking cursor world. I type, and then I let it sit there and I read it and I'm like, oh, that's good. That's good. I want to give it to them. Then I hit select all. Then I hit delete. This is almost a daily practice for me to type out what I want to say, but that isn't kind, delete it and rewrite it. That way I've gotten out what like the carnal flesh in me wanted. But I also know that carnal flesh in me isn't what needs to be said. So I get it out. Then I delete it. And then I write what I know needs to be said. So think before you speak. Number 2, speaking of thinking, again, it's hard to do this, but I've gotten a lot better at this. Think positively about the other person. Okay. If your first reaction when someone disagrees with you is like negative and angry, it's probably an indication that you haven't leaned all the way into thinking about who the other person actually is, that they're not an idea, that they're not an opinion, that they're a person. Okay? So, do a little bit of that work. Take a beat. Reframe the thoughts. Think positively. Okay, this person that I can't stand, I can't believe they would vote for this person. I can't even believe that they believe this about this issue. Gosh, but you know what? They love their kids. They want the best for their kids. They love their husband. They love their family. They want to be helpful. I wonder if I can think positively about them, all of these positive things, while knowing that we don't see eye to eye on this. Just start thinking about those beautiful things about them. Number 3, own your own stuff. Own your own stuff, okay? If you're speaking from a place of conviction, then speak from your own perspective, knowledge, and belief. Let me say that again. If you're speaking from a place of conviction, then speak from your own place of knowledge, belief, perspective. Don't project onto the other person. Projection is horrible in these situations, okay? Use statements that use the word or the letter I, okay? I statements keep the focus on our experience and feelings about the matter rather than attacking or blaming the other person. Well, I believe this. Not, well, all of you believe this. No, I. Again, this is how we can respectfully disagree and still engage in conversation. Number 4, be mindful of your media consumption. Friends and family. You do not need to know everything that is happening on planet Earth all the time. The greatest thing I've ever done is delete Twitter off my phone. Now, I talk about this. Now, where you will honestly, you won't. Like, people can say that there's, like fair, nonpartisan, non-biased news sources. No, if there's a human being writing something, there will be bias, even if it's in punctuation. But there are news sources that are less biased than the others. But even if you are just consuming from a biased news source, do what I've done. And I talk about this in my next book. I deleted Twitter off my phone. Now, that doesn't mean I won't install it every few days. I'll install it, read it, but then I'll delete it when I'm done. Instead of consuming the news on my digital device, I subscribe to this thing called a newspaper. And every single day, I'll walk outside and in my front yard, there is a newspaper waiting for me to read. And I'll read the news. And if something else happens on planet Earth, after I'm done reading the newspaper, I'll find out the next morning. It's been so healthy for me. Read a newspaper. Read and consume the news slowly. What you consume is what you become. Remember that. The kinds of rhetoric you're consuming will shape the way you communicate and behave. If the majority of what you read and hear is inflammatory, listen to this, I need you to understand this. If the majority of what you read and hear is inflammatory, negative and mean, or othering, you're training your thoughts to do the same. I'm going to say that again. If the majority of what you read and consume is inflammatory, hateful, spiteful, mean, that is what you will become in your words. It legitimately will become you. You're training your thoughts to do the same. Okay. I know this is hard. I'm actually like, to myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, Carlos, you got to work on this stuff. Okay. Next, don't extrapolate or assume. Okay. We all know what happens when you assume. Somebody tell me what happens when you assume. You make an ASS out of you and me. You're welcome if you've never heard that. That's what happens when we assume. Just because someone thinks one thing doesn't mean they think A, B, and C about X, Y, and Z. Like legitimately ask questions to find out what they think about specific things. Remember, just because one person believes, so say somebody is pro-life. Can I tell you something? Somebody can be pro-life and also they can be for ending the war in Gaza, while they could also be, let me see. I mean, what other? Well, they could be pro-gay marriage, while they could also be against children using pronouns, while they could be for like people can be different things. The fact that we've stuck people just in boxes where it's like, you're a liberal, you're a Republican, you're conservative, then you have to believe all these things. That's not true. It is not true. I actually don't know well, I do know maybe one or two, but people that they just want to fall in line with absolutely every single thing that their party believes. Don't assume it's not true. Okay. Let me say it again. Just because someone thinks one thing doesn't mean they think A, B, and C about X, Y, and Z. Ask questions. Next, get perspective in order to take perspective. What does that mean? Acknowledge the obvious differences between yourself and the other person, and then ask them about their perspective. Ask them. I think I talked about this 2 weeks ago. 3 words we don't say enough. I don't know. And the truth is we don't know enough about everyone else's perspective that we disagree with. So ask their perspective. Ask them about it. Then you have an accurate glimpse into their point of view. Rather than guessing or using your imagination to just get there, just ask them. The first time that the Instafamilia did a giving blitz, I used GoFundMe. And then the last time the Instafamilia did a giving blitz, I used GoFundMe. Why? Because GoFundMe is the most trusted place to raise funds. And it's a lot easier than you think. And it only takes a few minutes. With GoFundMe, you can get your fundraiser up and running in just a few taps. They have everything you need to help your fundraiser succeed, with tips, resources, and tools to help all along the way. Here's the deal. With a community over 150 million people, GoFundMe is the leader in fundraising. Plus, you can withdraw your funds at any time, even if you don't reach your goal. So next time you need help, literally, if you need it for whatever your fundraiser goal is going to be, if it's a garage sale, if it's a fundraiser for an adoption, I don't know what it is, you guys need to go to GoFundMe. So start your fundraiser today through my special URL, GoFundMe.com/Carlos. And as one of my listeners, you will get a free coaching session with a GoFundMe expert, whether you're starting a fundraiser today or maybe later down the line. Start today at GoFundMe.com/Carlos. That's GoFundMe.com/Carlos. When I started podcasting, I didn't know that I was going to have an online store. Well, guess what? Shopify helped me figure that out. And now we're selling hats, we're selling tote bags, we're selling shirts, we're selling all kinds of things on Shopify, and it actually helps provide income for my family. I'm grateful for Shopify. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Every single stage. And Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, up to 36% better compared to other leading commerce platform. Here is the kicker. What I want you to understand is you can go to shopify.com right now, okay? You can do it right now, and you are going to watch your business explode. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period. That's crazy at shopify.com/Carlos, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Carlos now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Carlos. We're moving through, fam. This is a great one, very important. You guys ready? Again, chasing civility, not silence. Seek out shared values. Okay, so debates, they tend to center around one tiny aspect of life, right? So like you debate on something, it's one tiny thing. If you look at the bigger picture and find the ways that you're similar, then suddenly the other person starts to feel a little bit more human. Do they like to play sports? What kind of music do they listen to? What's the best joke that they've heard in a while? There's someone on Instagram that just put up a dad joke. Dang it, I can't remember. I love dad jokes. Okay. You don't even have to ask those questions, but just keep them in your mind, as you're hanging out with the person, having a conversation with somebody across from you, or maybe on the other side of the screen. When you do that, okay, you're probably going to realize that you have a lot more shared values than you think. You're going to be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't like or laugh at something that you like or laugh to. Every single time I go to a, say Nashville SC game, and we're all collectively suffering because our team is not very good right now. I think we've scored 1 goal in the last 8 games. I mean, talk about watching paint dry. But I look around sometimes and I think to myself, man, everybody here is suffering the same suffering, and we all have various worldviews, but we're all feeling the same amount of pain. So, seek out shared values. Acknowledge commonalities as they come up, right? So when you hear something come up in a conversation, keep the common ground at the top of mind. Take the time to point out where you're similar. Oh, you know what? I actually, I love Kamala because I like the way that she speaks to people who disagree with her. I like that she doesn't talk down to them. There's something about that. Yeah. Did you see that time that Trump actually did that to that one reporter? I know that we don't see that very often, but that time that happened, that made me feel good too. Oh, it made you feel good? Yeah, it made me feel good. Oh, so you don't necessarily like the way he behaves sometimes around people? Actually, no, I don't, but I'm still going to vote for him. Oh, okay. Interesting. So now I've learned something new about you, but we have some commonalities. Okay. I'm making things up, just trying to help you guys. Okay. Next, say yes and instead of yes but. Using and when going off of someone's comment acknowledges their opinion and keeps it in consideration. Using but acknowledges their opinion and negates it. Does that make sense? Let me say that again. Using and when going off someone's comment, okay, acknowledges their opinion and keeps it in consideration. And I like that. But when you use but, it acknowledges their opinion and negates it. Does that make sense? Online engagement is trickier than real life. We get it. So keep in mind that the rules are going to be a little bit different in those spaces. Here's the deal. Sometimes silence may be the best choice online. Okay. It's really hard to comment or reply to someone with compassion and kindness in a heated comment section. It's funny. Again, when I put up that reel the other day about, the new commandment, love one another as I've loved you. This is how you will know that they're my disciples. Somebody went in there, and then they started nitpicking. Well, loving someone really means telling them the hard things. Loving somebody means rebuking them, and I almost went in to start debating. And then I thought, my thumbs and this screen are not the appropriate place to have this conversation. So you know what I did? I stayed silent. There are times to stay silent. Okay. How about passive aggressiveness in 2024? Hope this helps. Might be the most condescending phrase on the internet in 2024. And it's all over every comment section, usually followed by a heart emoji. Come on, man. It's not real. That's false humility. And in the rare instance that someone's trying to be genuinely kind in a comment section, we're so conditioned to read everything with a negative tone that our initial reactions are not likely to be kind in return. So you know what I do? One of the things that I love to do is I don't use my thumbs. I use my lips. Now, that sounds weird, but what I mean by that is many times in DMs, someone DMs me something and they're ripping me apart. I open up my camera, boop, boop, I hit record, and I just say, hey, we're not going to see eye to eye on this, but I wanted to look at you and say, thank you for engaging. I really do appreciate it. I'm grateful that you're here. 9 times out of 10, that person becomes a stronger part of the Insta Familia than somebody that hits unfollow. Okay. So do that. Think before you post, send a video DM if you really feel the need to engage, because seeing somebody eye to eye, knowing they were going to reply to you, changes everything. Okay. So listen, Brian Miller, he says this, he's from Brian Miller Speaks. Connection is not about agreement, but understanding, right? Connection maintained by silence or keeping the peace will probably honestly lead to resentment. So again, as Brian says, connection is not about agreement, it's about understanding. Let's understand that and choose connection over being right. And let's believe that connection is possible even in the midst of disagreement. I honestly would argue that it's actually more genuine that way. This was quick. It was to the point. But hopefully that gives you guys just a few guardrails that you can place up in your life when you're chasing civility and trying to not just be silent. All right, friends, that is it for this week's episode of the Carlos Whitaker Podcast. We will be back next week with pillar number 5, and then there's just one left. These are very important pillars. These are what we mean when we say we don't stand on issues, we walk with people. These pillars are going to give us what I honestly believe is going to be the stability to live out that phrase. See you next week. Talk soon.